So I was
Have a flu shot.
I found someone that I used to work for the state of Alaska, the Division of Public Health. And,
Yeah, I knew I was either gonna be stuck there or stuck there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I retired for a little while.
Hey, Bill.
Ready?
You're on.
All right. Good morning. Welcome to Lake Norman E-commerce Group. Thank you for coming out today and watching us on YouTube. Today, we've got a good crowd here. We've got a great speaker. I guess he thinks he's great, but he is. So what I want to do first is just kind of go around the room with the folks that are in the room and tell them who you are and what you do. So we'll start with Justin.
Thank you. Yeah, I moved into this seat so I could get
just
that
so you
first.
can do
Thank
that.
you.
I knew you did.
I didn't want to be in the middle. My name is Justin Allen. I work here for the Chamber of Commerce as well as publish a magazine down in Huntersville. Members of East Huntersville Mag.
Awesome.
Bree Appleton with Allen Pay Realtors out of the Mooresville office, actually.
Matt Swanson, MS Digital Solutions. I help businesses make the most out of their digital footprint.
David Woodruff with Genesis Film, helping organizations craft a better story and then share that with their target audience through engagement.
I'm Christy Shire. I'm with Liberty Mutual Insurance. North Charlotte.
Wayne Coolidge, Healthy Dynamic Living, Health Promotion, Disease Prevention Management Specialist.
All right.
Bill Russell with the Chamber of Commerce.
All right. Bill, would you like to just mention something, a little bit about the chamber?
Well, I'll tell you what I would mention is next Wednesday, we're having a leadership conference
Yes.
where we have Titus, Dave Ferguson, Heidi Hansen, all going to be speaking on facets of leadership. The purpose of the program is to prepare your mind for leadership and your heart for service. It's going to be at Grace Covenant Church. 9:30 to 10 is a networking, and then 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock we're having the speakers. The proceeds, it's $30 for the conference, and then if you want to stay for lunch and then a panel discussion afterwards, that's $50. But all the proceeds, the net proceeds, will actually go to the Hope House Foundation. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Hope House, it's in Huntersville. It's for females who might be I hate to use the word victims, but subject to domestic violence in their home, and they don't know really where to turn. And the Hope House is a place that they can turn, and I think they can house up to 10 to 12 females at a time, so they do a great job. But next week, we're having a leadership conference. Then coming up behind that, for Christy and Bree, we've got our women's conference April 18th or 19th at the Peninsula Club, which is a program put together for women speakers, great program. So we've got those things coming up. This Thursday, Business Mixer at T1 Communications. I think that's what it is, T1, right down the street.
All right, terrific. Well, just let me tell you a little bit about the chamber from my perspective. Came up with a group idea to help businesses that are selling or marketing themselves online, and wanted to be able to provide information and networking for people that are primarily doing things online, but you can use it in any aspect. So we brought that. Bill graciously brought it into the chamber to support it, and so now we are the Lake Norman E-commerce Group, part of the Chamber of Commerce. One thing, you do not have to be a member of the Chamber of Commerce to come to this group. However, we really do encourage it. The chamber does so much for this community. A lot of it's behind the scenes that you never see. Trips to Raleigh, on our behalf, on our businesses. So definitely consider joining the chamber if you are not at this time. At this time, well, we got one more person coming in. You're on the spot. We'll let you introduce yourself and what you do.
Sweet. Hi, guys. I'm Ashley Roundtree, and I am here today representing Dallas Chiropractic, which is right down the road in a whole health wellness center with lots of goodies to help take care of anything that you've got going on and preventative measures.
Terrific. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm
Okay.
excited to be here.
Well, we're going to go on into our speaker, Titus. I've known for about 1.5 years now. Got to know him very well, and he is the owner of Collaborative Business Solutions, a business coach. He also started Business Leaders United, a networking group, and is also the founder of the Lotta Foundation, a 501c3 charity. Never can say that right. So he's going to talk to us about networking on and offline. So I'm going to turn it over to Titus and let him roll.
Awesome. That's where you clap. Very good.
Keep you on your toes.
Hey, big round of applause for Mark, because it's not easy to stand up here and talk to folks. Thank you, Mark. I'm pretty excited. I understand that we're live, right? Are we live right now?
We're live.
Hey, Mom. Okay. So, hey, my name is Titus Bartolotta. I'm really super excited to be here. I'm going to talk about a topic that I know one or two things about. I have spent the last 15 years of my life dedicating myself to really appreciating and seeing the value in networking. And so about 10 days ago, I think Mark said, hey, would you be interested in being a speaker? And I said, well, sure. My business isn't online primarily, but I believe that networking really transcends that ecosystem. I think there's lots of ways that you can network digitally nowadays. There's all these Facebook and Instagram group pages. There are places where you can go and really bring the same networking skills that we're going to talk about today into that digital platform. So I want to encourage you to kind of open your mind for those of you that are really online, and for those of you that tune in and you think, well, this is the e-commerce group. Networking has nothing to do with an online business. I think that if you'd open your mind, you might find out that that's not entirely true. The other thing I want to tell you before we get started, if you're a person who takes notes, I see a few notepads. There are two ways to take notes. And I want to encourage you to consider taking notes a certain way today. The way that most people take notes is they use it for memorization for later, right? You take notes because you plan on talking to yourself about what you wrote, about what you heard, and what you thought. And that's a fantastic way to take notes. However, there might be a cooler approach, one that I want you to give a whirl today. Try to take the notes today as though you have to teach what you heard to someone that wasn't in the room. So when you take your notes today, write them in a way that you have a presentation tomorrow and you're gonna have to regurgitate all this information to somebody that missed the presentation. Fair?
Can
Yeah?
we start over?
Sure. Guys, my name's, no, sure. I wanna get started. I'm going to, Mark, I appreciate that introduction, but I'd love to tell you a little bit about myself. I think that's appropriate, especially that we're talking about networking. I am a certified John Maxwell coach. So that means that I've invested time, energy, money to go figure out how to help add value to people, both personally and professionally in their business and in their life. I take that really seriously as a teacher, coach, and speaker, and I'm excited to be here in that capacity. I'm also the founder and president of a few organizations that I take great pride in. I want you to know that I'm really connected to this community in a big way. One of those is something called the Lotta Foundation. It's a 501c3 charity where we are dedicated, maybe even obsessed with the idea of adding value and helping families that need a hand up. We do this through a lot of coats, a lot of toys, a lot of food. We think if we do a good enough job at it, we might do a lot of good. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to www.lottafoundation.com. I'm also the president and founder of a local networking organization called Blue. This is Business Leaders United. So I'm going to talk to you about networking today. I'm so passionate about it that about 2 years ago, I decided to create an organization. We have multiple chapters. We'll have hundreds of members by Christmas time this year. We're really excited about bringing a new and exciting way to network, build relationships, and make connections with people in our community. Lastly, I own something called Collaborative Solutions Group. This is my business coaching company. So if you think at the end of today that this presentation was valuable and you think that it might make sense for me to do it for someone else, that's a great way to reach out to me. team-csg.com. I've got some studies in business management, culinary arts, seminary, things of that nature. I've actually been the #1 salesperson for a small little company called Sears, coast to coast in 500 stores. I was #1 in every measurable category, so I know a little bit about selling and connecting and shaking hands and smiling and moving boxes, right? I've done this for a few organizations. However, I want to talk to you about something that's a little bit more important. And so what I like to tell folks in every presentation I do is that the most important thing to me, though, before I get started, is my family. I would be completely remiss if all I did was tell you about all my accomplishments and then taught you a bunch of really cool stuff and didn't tell you the why that I do it. If you look at this picture, you'll see that this most adorable little kid on the planet is giving me a world-class kiss. This is a great kiss for those of you that weren't in the room or at the event. I mean, he did a fantastic job. It brought me joy to this very moment. The redhead that there is no mistaking is my son. His name is Josiah, and Noah's giving me that world-class kiss. My favorite part about this picture, though, is if you'll notice my wife, Christina, who is my absolute rock. She's easily the most important person on this earth to me. You'll see that genuine joy in her face. She's just really happy that her husband and his kids are having that moment. I unfortunately grew up without a dad. So for me, I kind of didn't have that connection to that father figure. And so every day, I want to be a great networker, a great person who adds value, a great business person for those kids. And so she knows that story. And so I always love that picture because I know what's going through her head in that moment. All right. It's important for me to tell you guys these things because we're going to talk about the art of networking. And for me, part of that, in fact, maybe even the most important part of that, is building relationships and making connections. And many times we pass our business cards out. It's got all of our information. It's got all the ways that you can spend money with us. But that human connection is something that we miss. Now, this is true in face-to-face or e-commerce. We just kind of stop short of what it takes to win the race. We invest 90% instead of 100% of what it takes to win. And we realize, or maybe we don't realize, that relationships and connections is the most important part of really any marketing tool that you use. You see, networking is just one of many ways that you can grow your business. I thought it was important to not just brag about all the cool things I've done. I don't say those things to impress anyone. I say them to hopefully impress upon you that I might be an authority on the thing I'm about to talk about. So that's important. But if I miss the part about my family and if I don't share my why with you, then it's really hard for us to build a relationship and make a connection. And so that is something that I think is truly key in networking. The thing that I think is so important is we sometimes want to do a lot of talking and telling when we get into network, right? We do this thing called show up and throw up. We just dump everything that is important to us onto everyone around us. And we rarely find out what's important to them. But I think if we ask questions, if we get really good at becoming a person who asks questions before the networking process, during the networking process, and after that process, we will walk away with greater results. So a few questions I want you to just start practicing asking yourself about networking or sales in general in your business place is, who are you talking to? Who is it that you're about to get in the room with? Doing a little bit of research. I don't want you to get creepy, but for our digital people, you can live on LinkedIn and Facebook and you can learn all about that person long before you ever meet them. Doing a little bit of research and finding out who it is that you're going to talk to is invaluable. I think it's also really important for you to ask this question of yourself. What are we going to talk about once we get started with this talking thing? If you really truly plan on building a relationship and making a connection with someone, you got to prepare and be ready for that before you get in front of that person. Now, why is it we do these things when we're chasing a girl or a guy, right? We do this in dating. We find out, we ask our friend a little something about this person before that date. We do our due diligence. We ask a bunch of questions before we want to give a kiss or a hug. We don't do that quite in business. We kind of have this expectation, I sell this and you need it, let's do business. And that just doesn't work. It just really doesn't. It's not a sustainable model even when it does work. The last thing I want you to think about is, why are we talking to each other? So you're going to notice the who, the what, the why. These are pretty core basic principles in any kind of learning scheme, but really understanding, why are we talking? There's so many ways to grow one's business, and there's a lot of ways that don't require a lot of talking. But networking will. And so you need to know why it is that you've made the decision to talk to this person. The next thing I want to remind you guys about networking, people tend to overcomplicate anything. Anybody overcomplicate stuff in life? Yeah? All right, there's only 3 people that rated 4. Okay, good. We got the whole room. I peer pressured everyone into it. Most people complicate everything. They just, they think that if something's easy, that means it must not be valuable or there's no magical thing in there. I tend to tell folks that when I do one-on-one coaching or seminars or speaking engagements, it's super important to me to never, ever blow your mind. Never. I've had the pleasure to preach in several churches, and my faith is a big part of my life, and I've oftentimes said that if I give you some revelation that blows your mind, I will have failed you. This is true in networking too. If you find yourself blowing someone's mind, then what you did was distract their ability to connect in that moment because of some loud noise or some distraction. You don't have to worry about wowing and blowing someone's hair back. You certainly don't have to worry about blowing my hair back, but knock it off. But I will tell you that if you keep it simple and when you talk to somebody, if they feel as though what you're talking about is very familiar to them and it doesn't blow their mind and distract the connectivity that you have with somebody, then you can stay in that moment with them. Ultimately, sales one-on-one will tell you that if you don't know your audience, you'll have no audience, right? I hope I'm not teaching anybody that particular principle because I'm talking to a room full of professionals. But we forget this in networking. We forget that these are our customers, that these are our potential vendors and partners. And we're so focused on what we want to talk to them about that we don't ever get a chance to know the person that we're talking to. We don't ask any of those discovery questions, right? And maybe you guys do that in this room, but how many of us know that networker that doesn't ask a single question, they don't get to know their audience, the person they're talking to, not even for a minute? How effective are they? How much value do they add to your world? Very little, right? So we have to know our audience or we'll have no audience. I think it's very important for us to realize that when we ask great questions, oftentimes we get great information. When we don't ask those great questions, when we ask really awful questions and we don't get the kind of data that we need to win that battle or to close that sale or to build that relationship, we oftentimes wonder, oh gosh, I wonder why I'm not having better results in this moment. Well, maybe we didn't ask the right questions to get the right information so that we could be successful. Albert Einstein says that the same consciousness that got us into a problem cannot get us out of that problem. So I'd ask you, if you're constantly developing a relationship the same way and you're asking questions to learn about people, but you're still not connecting with them, perhaps you ought to maybe ask different ones. Maybe the questions you're asking aren't getting you the kind of information that you need to be hyper successful. So ask great questions and challenge yourself if the questions that you ask of others are great. The enemy of great is this thing called good. Have you ever heard of good? Good will stop you every time from being great. So I challenge you to ask great questions. A few things, we need to be willing to dig deep and kind of ask follow-up questions for people as well. When you ask a follow-up question, you demonstrate this genuine level of selflessness. Because after someone gives you the thing about them, now whose turn is it? Well, it's your turn normally. But when you show them that it's still not your turn because you have a follow-up question and you're still really interested in them, it doesn't feel like any of this bait and switch moment. You do this, I'll do that. And it just creates this genuine magic between you and another person. This is networking. Notice we're not talking about paper business cards. Or those of you that are printing professionals, I certainly am not saying don't use business cards. Please buy all the business cards in the world for Facebook. But what I am saying is we're not talking about any marketing material. We're talking about the human collateral and how important that is. So digging deep and asking follow-up questions are going to be things that provide really great results for you. It's about quality questions and not quantity. We talked about asking great questions. Here's one of my favorite parts. When you deliver on the wants and needs of others, it gives birth to this thing called loyalty. And when somebody is loyal, it is extremely easy to get their buy-in. So if you're looking to add networking as part of your sales techniques, part of your marketing plan for your business, you've got to make sure that you have a really hyper loyal group of people. Now, I don't really like to have clients and customers. I think if I could have ambassadors, that would really be different. folks that are talking about me long after we did business or made connections for each other. The only way to do that is when you have a loyal group of people that are fully bought in. And that's going to require you to deliver on their wants and needs each and every time. We're going to start with the end in mind when we're networking. Again, we asked these questions earlier. Why are you talking to these people? Who are you talking to? Why did you pick this particular model to grow your business? Why is that, out of all of the ways that you could have skinned the cat, why is that the way you did it? Now here's maybe why you did it. People always want to know what they're going to get. And that's fair. Although I'm going to tell you in networking, you have to demonstrate the highest level of being a giver. You do get some stuff. So let's talk about what you get. You're going to get to generate referrals and leads, opportunities, connections, advice. You're going to get to raise your profile. When you start becoming known in the community because you build these connections with people, because you're at every chamber meeting, because you're at every networking group, you all of a sudden become a pseudo-celebrity. Any celebrities in the room? Bill Russell. Exactly. When was the last time you saw a prominent gathering of people and Bill wasn't there? So you will absolutely raise your profile when you're a proper networker. How about positive influence, increased confidence, satisfaction by helping others? And even though it may seem silly, I promise you that it's not. You're going to get some friendship. I know that a few of us would stand to enjoy life and have a better overall human experience if we had a little bit more friendship, right? How many other marketing plans and sales techniques that you're currently using in your business net you friendship? Yeah, right? It's kind of a big deal. I promise you that all of these things are direct results of proper networking. Now, for the e-commerce folks that are still thinking, I don't get out of my house, I live at a keyboard. What are you talking to me about this networking stuff for? Well, there's Facebook group pages. There's all kinds of digital ecosystems where you can do these things and really be hyper successful. How about this? How many times do we network with our customers? Now, a follow-up email that says thank you for your business is not what I'm talking about. But making the constant, relentless, giving kind of investment in that client, developing a relationship with the person that hired us to do just that one job. If we networked with our customers, I think that we would turn them into ambassadors. So we talked about the what. Everybody wants to talk about the win, right? So here's how you win. Anybody ever heard of ABC? Yeah, that sales term. Can anybody tell me what ABC means?
Always be closing.
Always be closing. I hear you. Always be. But in networking, what if we changed it to caring? And I know, again, oh, this is the sappy. There's no way that I have to always be caring. How is that so important in networking? I promise you that if I were to ask you, do you notice when someone cares, you would say yes. And so then I would ask you, do you want to be noticeable? If you have it in your business plan to be noticeable, then you will have to do things that get you noticed. And people notice when others care. So I'm going to ask you in networking to change the C to caring and always be caring. Okay, so we talked about what you're going to get from networking. Now I want to tell you what you have to give in order to get. Okay, this is where you have to do your part. The problem is that list is going to look very familiar to you because that's what you're going to get, we said. Well, I promise you, you're going to have to give all of those things if you have any desire to get those things. Yeah, it's going to require a one-for-one kind of scenario. If you hope to get any of those things from networking, you're going to have to give them. So we're talking about you're going to have to give referrals. You're going to have to give opportunities, connections, advice. You're going to have to develop friendships with people if you hope to be a successful networker. Now, if you have lots and lots of time and money and you want networking to be a hobby that doesn't generate results, but you just want to get out of the house and have fun and drink coffee all day long, don't do these things, I promise. Do not give referrals and make connections for people, and you'll continue to invest in your hobby. But it will not be a marketing plan or a successful, sustainable business plan. Here's the biggest part of these things. You'll have to give these things first before you get these things. That's it. This is really simple. Remember the last slide where it said simple math and people want to complicate things? I wish that I could come here and blow your mind and you write down about how smart and amazing this Titus guy is. But remember, if I did that, it may distract from you just getting the most simple, most powerful, most familiar thing to your spirit and heart already, which is just what to do. Many of us know what to do in life. We don't necessarily need to be taught. We know right from wrong. How many people know that identifying a problem isn't really that hard? Perhaps the problem is, I'm an alcoholic. Identifying an answer to that problem is also pretty easy. Stop drinking, right? It's the application of an answer to a problem where we get hung up in life. This is true in personal and professional aspects of one's life. But I promise you, if you would apply these particular really simple answers, that you're sitting here going, I already knew these things. Well, yeah, I put a lot of time into making sure that it felt that way because it should feel that way, and you're very smart people. But you're going to have to give these things inside of networking, and you'll have to give them first. But once you give these things, you will have earned the right to ask for these things. I want to go a little deeper into connecting with people. And we talked about it a little bit, but I want to give you some sustainable, teachable items that can help improve your ability to make a connection with somebody. Because isn't that really what networking is, right? It is the fullness of making a connection with somebody. You will have earned the right to ask for what's important to you when you connect with them, when you've developed that loyalty and that buy-in, right? So I want you to know that connecting, being a connector, is fueled by energy. You gotta be a person filled with energy. I'm not telling you have to be an extrovert. How many folks know the guy that won't shut up, has a joke every 2 seconds, is never asking questions, never listening? Yeah? My hand's up because I'm one of those too. Yeah. Energy is a good thing, but you have to control it. How many people know the person that can't control themselves? They want to be the dominant focus of the room 24/7. Yeah, we've all been in that same boat. But energy is a good thing. In fact, it's a required thing for you to connect with people. People oftentimes have a hard time connecting with somebody that's very low energy. So I want to tell you some of the things that you need to do to have this high energy and connect with people. It's going to require initiative. This means you have to go first. We talked about you have to give these things first before you can ask for these things. To connect with people and to walk in that level of energy, it's going to require something called clarity. You're going to have to be prepared. We're really summarizing what we've talked about up to this point, but being prepared. Why have I chose networking as my marketing plan? Why am I going to go into this room with these group of people? And why do I want to talk to them? Be prepared. When's the last time that you hired a contractor that came to your home completely unprepared and you felt really good about giving them your money? In networking, it's got the word work in it. Stop thinking that it's all about drinking coffee. This is work. It's going to require dedication, commitment, asking questions, asking follow-up questions, digging deep, and building a relationship with somebody. So therefore, you need some clarity. Be prepared. We talked about we have to give, so selflessness. We have to demonstrate that. People are attracted to selflessness when it's genuine. When it's not genuine, we want to get as far away from it as possible. It feels manipulative when it's not genuine. So you're going to have to make sure that it's genuine. Patience. In networking, you have to slow down just a bit. Again, how many folks show up and throw up? Here's what I do, here's why I do it, here's why we're better than everyone else, here's my price, you need to do business with me. Slow down. Slow down. Don't expect the sale tomorrow. Have some patience. Plant that seed. Let it nurture, let it mature, okay? Have some patience. How many times do we in life have a desire to grow and become better? But how many times do we possibly move a bit faster than growth? And if we'd slow down and let growth catch up to us, we might just grow something. The last thing you're going to really need to maintain energy to make a connection with somebody is stamina. Recharge. When you're constantly pouring into somebody else and you're taking from your well and you're lifting someone else up, it's going to drain you a little bit. You're going to have to make sure that you have some time set aside for your ability to maintain that high level of connecting and generosity. We have a person in the room that I want to brag on just a moment. This is a person who gives and gives and gives, super high energy, one of the most positive people on the planet that I know. This person, I don't know when they shut it off, but I know that they have to be shutting it off every now and again so they recharge their batteries. But Justin Allen is easily one of the most highest energy positive people that I know. And if you know him well enough, then you already know that too. But I promise you that high energy, that nonstop giving, that nonstop being a person of value who adds value to others will burn you out. So if you want to maintain that, if you want it to be sustainable, you got to have some stamina, and that's going to require recharging. Does that make sense? Now, there's a few things that will create some barriers between you and the people that you want to connect with. How many people know that connecting with someone really happens on this thing called common ground, right? When we have something of interest together and we have some common ground, it's really easy to connect with people. Now, there's some things that gets in the way of our common ground and our ability to connect with others and build relationships. And some of those things are assumption, arrogance, control, and indifference. You know how hard it is to connect with somebody when you're arrogant? It's really, really hard. Yeah? You can feel it. It's uncomfortable. And sometimes you can be misunderstood or misinterpreted as arrogant. But that's not their fault for misinterpreting and misunderstanding you. That's your fault for not providing them with a really full, clear picture. You have to go above and beyond if you hope to have these kind of winning results. So I'm going to challenge you, if you're hoping to connect with people, you have to make sure that arrogance is not a part of your math equation. Remove it from the equation, and you'll stop getting an error sign when you hit equals on the calculator, right? The other thing that I think is really, really horrible is control and indifference. Nobody wants to be controlled. We've got business professionals in here, and when I'm talking to networkers, these in many cases are people that have quit their jobs, started their own company because they were tired of being told what to do all the time. I've never met a really highly functioning salesperson that likes being told what to do. I'm not saying that they can't follow direction, but most of us don't want to be dominated and controlled. I promise you, the person that you're trying to connect with did not go into that networking meeting or that one-on-one because they were like, gosh, I sure wish somebody would tell me what to do and hover over me and have dominance and make me feel small. So if you want to connect with people, you've got to get control out of the way. And indifference. This is not the time to get on a soapbox and remind somebody how much smarter you are than they are. So if you want to connect with people, this is the how. And because connecting with folks is going to be how we establish a real true bond and relationship with folks, this has got to be part of the program. How am I doing on time, Matt? Am I doing okay? Okay, great. Here's something I want to go a little deeper on. Making a connection doesn't happen overnight. This speaks to the patience part again. Here's what's really scary for people. People go, oh my gosh, I am not an extrovert. I am not a networker. I'm quiet. I don't really build relationships. How can I have networking results that are really fruitful if I'm not this person that wants to shake everyone's hand and become everyone's friend? That's just not in my DNA. I'm not good at it. I wasn't born this way. Well, the good news is that connecting with others is more skill than natural talent. So if you're not born with it, you can learn it, okay? Take a deep breath. I promise you that this is a skill, not a natural born talent. You have to simply make a commitment to want to connect. You have to make a commitment to want to add value. You have to make a commitment to build relationships if you want networking to be part of your overall growth plan. Again, there are lots and lots of ways to grow your business. Networking is just one of those. I want to give you some quick examples of how people successfully connect with others. They do it a few ways. Relationships. Who you know is a great way to connect with other people. We may connect because we have a common person that we've done business with. Or when that person says, oh gosh, you sure need to meet Titus, that endorsement means a lot. So relationships have a lot to do with how we make connections with people. Does that make sense? Yeah? Sacrifice, how you live, is very attractive. When you demonstrate with the right heart who you are and what's important to you, when you show sacrifice and giving, that's attractive. That'll create a magnet inside of you. It'll help you connect with people. So I want to just encourage you to not be braggadocious, but to certainly make sure that those things are things that are part of your bio. Nobody wants to just know that you went to Harvard and graduated with a master's. They want to know when you ladled soup at the soup kitchen recently. Super important to people. Not how many awards you won. Those things are important. But you have to make sure that folks know when you help somebody walk across the street. And it has to be done with the right approach. Insight, what you know, is really important. Sometimes we have some experts in the room that are really high in their particular field, And when you have a one-on-one with these individuals, they'll let you know everything about their field. And that may be an attractive way to connect. Make sure the community knows that you're an authority on something. People want to sit down with someone that can add value and teach them something. It's a great way to stimulate connection. Success. Even though I said it's not the primary factor, yes, of course, you being successful is important. People want to listen to somebody that's already been there and done that. They feel like that person might be able to add value to their life. You'll notice the common theme here is what's attractive to folks to want to connect with you is when they see value in you. Oh, that person can teach me. Oh, that person can connect me. Oh, that person's a giver and I want to become a better. So there's a common theme. When you add value to others, they want to connect with you. The last one here that I have is ability. What you can do. A little bit different than what you have done. What you have done is important. What you can do is also very important. What I can do is show up and complete this task for you. What I can do is very important. It's attractive to people. But if you can find a way to talk about these areas of your business with people, then you'll have a successful connection with them. And again, connecting is what we're really here talking about today. Remember, this is not a born talent. This is a skill. You can learn this. You can get better. How many people in the room right now would say that I'm a pretty good networker? You guys, would you rate yourself as a pretty good networker? Yeah? So? Best in the whole room?
Getting into it.
Better than everyone else in the room? A little bit arrogant. Oh, I made that up. Totally. I'm not going to say why, Dave. But Dave, pretty good?
Yeah.
Pretty good, Matt? Above average. Mark? Above average? Free? Okay. Justin?
Comfortable.
Comfortable.
Yeah, pretty good. And at first I thought the question was asking about who thinks you're a good
I know.
networker. That's what my hand went up so quick.
Yeah. How many people would say of themselves, I'm a good networker?
Exactly.
Here's what's really important. No matter how great you are, we don't stop this journey of improving, right? I want you to know that it's a skill, and a skill can always be added on. You can always be more skillful tomorrow than you were today. So I want to talk about a few other things that are important. We're going to talk about the when. So timing is more than half the battle in networking, okay? Are you front of mind with people? You can't go away. You have to be relevant. You have to be topical. You have to be something that's on their thought on a regular basis. People are busy. And in networking, you can't get bummed out. Now, this is actually true probably for all forms of marketing and sales and growth. But you have to know that timing is more than half the battle. You have to be okay with the understanding and just get over yourself that you've got to be front of mind. You've got to find a way, maybe even an indirect way, to stay in front of people in a way that's comfortable. Remember, we don't want to be controlling. We don't want to be arrogant. We don't want to be dominant. We don't want people to get annoyed with us, right? But we want to find a way to stay in their world because people are quite busy. I want to talk about this important fact. When we talk about timing, real estate in someone's wallet is not a long-term position. People can run out of money, okay? If you can carve out space in their mind and heart, you'll have a home forever. Yeah, I think it's important to realize that. It goes back to the why are you talking to these people? Why are you selecting networking? Why? And if your why is not wrapped around that I want to be in their mind and heart, if it's because I want to be in their wallet, don't waste your time or money. Do something else. Don't do networking. Yeah, do something else. This is a moment where if you make a decision to be a networker, if you make a decision to follow this because you really want results, then this is where I want you to do far more than just take notes, but potentially take action and make a commitment inside yourself. The Bible says that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So things start with what we think, right? What we think affects our beliefs, maybe even our behavior. Our behavior affects our actions, and our actions affect our results, right? I mean, that's normal stuff. And I'm telling you that you've got to start with this thought process that if I'm in their wallet, I've got a home for a few days. But if I'm in their mind and heart, I got a home forever. And that's where networking gets really magical. That's what makes it more sustainable potentially than its counterparts. There are other marketing and sales options for growth in your business. I could not properly farm in the real world. You would not want to eat the tomatoes that I grow for you. Not my strong suit. However, I want you to know that in sales, we've heard of hunting and farming, and networking is farming. You've got to come to that conclusion. Stop thinking that you're going to go have a meeting and you're going to drag back a sale the next day, drag back a connection. This is farming. I want you to find a way to live in someone's heart and mind. It's got to be genuine, can't be manipulative. People need to look at you and not just see a salesperson or a business owner. People need to look at you and see a lighthouse. When it's dark and stormy, people look for a lighthouse. They don't look for a salesperson. When it's really dark and stormy and they need direction because they're lost, Bill, when was the last time somebody said, if I could just find the plumber, then I could get some direction? People are looking for someone that adds value. They're looking for someone that makes them feel comfortable. They're looking for a relationship. And that is what networking is. And if you do it with the right heart and intentionality, you will not live in their wallet. You'll live in their minds and hearts. And that'll last as long as their life. And not as long as their checking account will allow. So networking is farming. Stop hunting. Stop thinking you're going to drag back meat right away.
So I just as a timed example,
Sure.
Literally just got a text. Hi, Justin, I hope you're doing well. Do you happen to know any paralegals with family law experience that may be in search of a job?
Awesome.
It's just that idea. That's the idea.
Yeah.
You've got people
Yeah.
hopefully reaching it.
So I was told the camera may not pick up audio from the right and left. So for those that are listening, Justin said that he just got a text message from somebody that said that they are looking for a family law attorney. And Justin doesn't do family law, but they thought about Justin as their resource. They thought about Justin as their lighthouse. They thought about Justin as their compass. I want people coming to me for everything, not just what I sell, because then the odds, the at-bats that I will get in someone's world increases. I've got to become a person of value that adds value. And if I can do that, man, that's where the magic lives. That's what makes a networker a professional networker, not a ninja star business card thrower, right? We know those people. So I want to, as I'm closing out this presentation, I want to just, if I haven't already talked about the what, the how, and the why enough, I want to seal the deal and close it up. And I'm going to read these off the screen because they're worded so well that I want to make sure that it's received equally as well. So if you'll forgive my back being turned for just a moment. What? Most organizations and individual professionals know what they do or what they're asked to do. These are the products they sell, services they offer, and or responsibilities they manage. Just about everybody knows what they do. Now, some organizations, not most, but some organizations and individual professionals know how they do it. These are the things that make them special and separate them from their competitors. Just about everybody knows what they do, and most people know how they do it. Now, here's how you can change, you can separate yourself from the herd in a big way. The why. Very, very few organizations and individual professionals know why they do what they do. Why is not about making money. That's a result. See, why? It's a purpose, a cause, a belief. It is or plays a major factor in the very reason for your existence. So if you want to be different than everybody that's in your marketplace, know your why. And don't just know your why. Share your why with others. They need to know your why as well. They need to know what is the fuel that moves your car. If you put high octane or rocket fuel in a car, the car might move a few feet and then the motor's going to blow up. You need sustainable fuel, and you need to make sure that folks know what fuels you. Your why is crucial to not just you. It's going to be crucial to those around you as well. So don't just be in the most category or in the some category. Find a way to be some of those rare special people that know their why and share it with others. It'll make you different than the other real estate professional or the other plumber or the other photographer. Does that make sense? Cool. Why do anything if not be great at it? I put down here, I don't know if you can see it, but no one can teach you or tell you your why except for you. So again, this is something that you need to develop, but you need to figure out what your why is, why you got into business, why you do things the way you do them. why you're going to network, and how you're going to translate that information to other people. That's really why they showed up to get coffee with you. Now, they may not know that, but down deep inside on a subconscious level, they showed up to talk to you because they really want to know those things, and they want to kind of share those things with you. People get really passionate when they start talking about why they started their plumbing business. I just don't know a whole lot of folks that get passionate about talking about pulling that stuff out of the toilet, right? But boy, do they get passionate when they tell you the story of how they were able to fix someone's toilet and stop the floor from getting destroyed, and how they helped somebody, right? All of a sudden now that passion, the light turns on in their life. If I were to ask each and every one of you, tell me why you do what you do, your energy level would go through the roof. And remember, what fuels connecting with others? Our energy. And that passion comes through when we talk about our why. You need to do more talking about your why and less talking about your SKUs and the things that you sell. Why is one of your greatest tools in building relationships and connecting with others. The power behind why, however, isn't activated until you know what it is and until you tell others. I put on here, everybody remember the song when you were a kid? This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. So guys, if we realize that this light, this thing, remember we talked about being a lighthouse, that light's what draws people in the darkness from across the water. It's not just that building that they can't see it when it's dark. If we're not going to let folks know about this light and this why, well, we're just never going to connect with people. And therefore, we're not going to get the kind of results out of networking that we want. So I don't want you to let your little light hide. I want you to let it shine. Deeper bonds are created when those around you know your why, because it makes them feel let in. It makes them feel like they're part of your story. And that's far more important than just building the pergola in their backyard. Is that making sense to anybody? Yeah? Cool. I want to close by telling you thank you, but I also want to tell you that there are few things that drives me more than trying to educate, communicate, and add value to somebody. I've spent a lot of years of my life dedicated to building relationships and making connections with other people. It drives me. I started this off by telling you my why. You know, I grew up in a home that was broken and not complete. But today I live in a home with a wife and 2 kids, and it's very complete. And that drives me. I have found a way to put my love of my God, my dedication of my family, into everything I've ever done. You see, it really didn't matter what I was selling. It didn't matter what services I provided. I found a way to always slip in how I loved Jesus and how my wife was really important to me. I found a way to slip in that reading my son a story last night was the coolest thing I've done all week. No matter what I do, I always find a way to communicate that with people because that's my why. And so I'm good to go no matter what industry I work in because my why doesn't change, right? And I just wanted to share all of that with you. I very much so hope that I added value, and I thank you guys for your time. I'll make myself available for Q&A, but thank you again so much. I appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, questions? Oh, yeah. So where does somebody get started? Somebody who feels like they want to add networking into their routine for their business, you know, whatever they're doing. How do they start that? Give us some nails.
Sure. Yeah, I would tell you that step 1 is get out of your house. Get out of your comfort zone. You have to do that. If you're in the e-commerce world, get out of just the only places you're in and get into that group, that closed Facebook group. That space, that ecosystem that's digital. You've got to get out of what you're currently doing and get into what you ought to be doing. And how to find out what you ought to be doing is to ask questions, really meaningful questions. I like to ask people that know more than me, which requires me to be around people that know more than me. So you can ask other people in your marketplace, or what I find business owners forget to do, when they're really good at asking questions, and I don't have to teach them that, the only people they forget to ask questions to are their customers. We rarely ask the customer a question. I don't know if it's because we don't want them to know that we don't know everything, but our customers might be really good resources as to where maybe they network. If you're a person who's not great at networking, you may have a client that is. So you may have an indirect way to email all your clients and go, hey, yeah, we've got that 10% off, but that's not why I'm emailing you. Hint, hint. I'm emailing you because I'm looking to get into some networking. And you, every time you buy from me, every time we work with each other, you're so bubbly and filled with energy. And I'm just always so inspired by your personality. And I figured, gosh, you must be an expert on networking. So ask a few of your clients or friends or neighbors. I would highly suggest that you get plugged into the chamber. There's no way that you shouldn't. I run 3 companies. All 3 of them are paying chamber members, and I sit on the board. So to say that I have some buy-in for the chamber would be quite true. I would also tell you to get into some networking groups, even outside of the chamber. This could be groups like Business Leaders United or BNI or the Lake Norman Small Business Network. But getting around crowds of people is really, really step 1 and step 2. Does that answer that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Other questions?
How do you learn to define your why concisely?
Yeah, well, if I had more time, I would make it shorter. Yeah, a really smart person one time said that you'll notice if anybody reads my posts on Facebook that are super long, it's because I don't have enough time to make them super short. So it's hard. Concise is not always easy, but it's super possible. I tend to, when I sit down with clients, I ask them about their core values, right? And if you start listing out what your core values are in life, personally and professionally, you'll kind of start writing your concise why. And so your core values and your own personal mission and vision plan should have a lot to do with how you make up your why. And then how you get it shorter and concise is just to continue to refine it. I've got a culinary degree and I spent years cooking in kitchens, and we would call it reducing. So if you let something sit on the pot long enough and the broth gets lower and lower because of evaporation, it basically loses the parts that it doesn't need, and it becomes a really concentrated part of what it should be made up of. And so how you can make it concise is to continue to refine it, pressure it, push it, get your hands wrapped around your why. If your why is too big, then your hands probably aren't wrapped around it. So that might be a way that you might find to condense it a little bit. Yeah. I may have done a good enough job. There's no questions.
What do you tell someone that says, well, I just don't have time to go out and spend all day talking to people and having coffee?
Sure. I would say for the people that say that, which I hear all the time, that's probably the number 1 thing that people tell me when they talk about networking. I tell them, number 1, we all have time for the things that we, make time for, right? So if you're not willing to raise the value that you put on networking, then maybe it's not something for you. However, if you're willing to be open-minded and see it as a sustainable, or we talked to networking was farming, so I remind people, you can feed your family by killing a deer and dragging it back, but if you can plant seeds and create an entire field of harvest, then you get to eat forever and always. And so a steady referral network, a steady connection network, again, I don't want to disrespect hunting, but I just think that if you would prioritize it and you would make it important in your world and see it for what it really is, and it's not just drinking coffees, I think you would buy into it more, or any person. You know, people ask me all the time, well, how does this get easier in my life? And they hate my answer because it's not complicated. You know, you don't have to take a bunch of notes, and people always want to take a bunch of notes. But people go, how do I make this thing easier? And I go, okay, you ready? There's only 2 things you need to do. Number 1, everything is big. Everything, nothing small. The person who wrote "Don't sweat the small stuff," I would smack them in their face. I just would. I'm sorry. I hate
somebody who read it.
Yeah, I know. No. Listen, I just can't. Everything's a big deal in my life. When was the last time you lost a beach ball in the couch cushions at home? Right? You just don't lose a beach ball. You don't lose something when it's big. You lose it when it's teeny tiny and potentially not important. Right? So everything needs to be big. That's number 1. And then how does something become easier for me to do? Number 2, this is what they really hate. Make it more important to you. If you make something more important to you, I promise it becoming easier follows along. Well, it is important to me. How come it's so hard? It's not important enough. Well, that's not fair. It's super important. Not important enough. It'd be easier for you if it was more important to you. That's it. And I know that will frustrate you, but if you want networking to be easier for you, make it big, make it more important. Yeah, that's the best answer I can give to that
I
question.
think we all just look for instant gratification.
Oh, you are so right.
That's
Yeah.
in this world. And
Sure. What if I told you that, and this is how you can sell other people on it, instant gratification is networking. There's no question. Well, Titus, you just said it's farming and it takes forever. But remember what I said, the core root of what networking is. It's about being a giver. It's about adding value. You can be instantly gratified if you just changed what gratified you. If you just made a slight adjustment as to the thing that blows your hair back, and it wasn't the closing the sale, but it was the helping somebody and adding value, you can do that in your very first meeting. You can ask a few questions, send a referral, send a text message, make a connection. You can add value and help somebody improve and grow their life, their business in 5 minutes. That's pretty instant to me, right? That's quicker than a commission check that you get when they actually do buy that thing. So that's what I would say to people. You're absolutely right. And when people say, I want instant, I go, cool. You need to just make a slight adjustment to what it is that gratifies you, and then you can be gratified a bit more quicker, yeah. Sir?
I like that you say that networking is a way to grow your business, right? And having watched your program, I know there's a lot of different things there. For you as for someone who's not doing it currently, and they're thinking, well, why would I bother doing that? You know, what do you think for you is the key benefit of networking as opposed to all the other ways you can go to business? What is your favorite part about it?
Oh man, I mean, I'm super biased to this because I just simply can't find anything that doesn't fall back to networking in my world. I can make an argument that even when I found a great marketing plan to be in a newspaper, a magazine, a postcard, I didn't know that person until I networked, built a relationship, and then I bought into their marketing that got me the sales. You know, when I eventually one day spend money in your magazine and market my business and try to get leads and referrals, I won't equate those leads and referrals to the full page ad that I take out every month with you. I will equate it to the relationship and connection that you and I did for months at a time that made me feel so comfortable and created the loyalty for me to buy into what you do. So it's very hard for me to talk about how it's not valuable or how there's another way to come to market. But I guess my favorite part of it has to be that bond and friendship part. Out of all the ways to market, I mean, I've run companies, I've managed teams, I've gone across the country, and I just don't know another way that makes me feel better about life. I truly value interacting with people. I like hugging people, you know what I mean? I love it. Again, I'm not disrespecting any other way to come to market. It's just out of all the ways to come to market, this is the way that lets me stay in the market. It's sustainable. It doesn't go away. It'll last as long as I continue to feed it. But other things kind of come and go. There are fads, there's seasonal things of when you should be marketing this way or selling that way. I just don't think it's a seasonal thing to love and connect and bond with people. Well, I'm going to talk about at the leadership conference. The thing I'm going to talk about is going to be way different than this, but there's going to be some overtones. I'm going to talk about servant leadership. And servant leadership, it's brand new. It just started about 2,000 years ago. And so that connecting with human beings, to me, that's just the best way to go to market because I truly believe it lets me stay in the market. Yeah. With that, I will stop talking and shut up. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go that way next time. See you. Well, Titus, thank you so much for sharing today. Really appreciate everything that you brought to us.
Yes, sir.
What I want to do now, we got a little bit of time left. For the folks that are here, we're always looking for good people to come in and add value to the group, bring something like this to us. And it can be just about any topic. But what we'd like to do is if you know of people that could come in and do something that'll bring value to everyone, and if you have topics that you would like to have discussed where we can reach out and find someone that can come in and speak on that topic, that's what we're looking for. So maybe if you've got some topics right now, we can kind of discuss and see that we have. If not, you can always send us an email or go on the Facebook page and make a post there. Hey, I'd love to see this or whatever. We've had large groups here. We've had small groups here. It kind of comes and goes, but it's always been a diverse group of people from all different types of businesses. And I think the one thing that everyone has had in common, let me go back. When we started this, it was based on people that were trying to sell online, maybe eBay or Amazon or their own website. Maybe you got a brick and mortar store and you have a website and sell products. And we kind of expanded the whole look of, we can bring a lot of value to people that are trying to market maybe a business or a service online, not necessarily trying to actually sell the product online. And just about anybody can fit into that. With social media and everything now, we're really tied to the internet. We're really, a lot of the marketing and things like that going on through the internet. So if you know of people that this could be of value, please tell them about the meeting. It's just one morning a month, not the 4th, the last Tuesday of each month. So don't show up on the 4th when there's 5. And for an hour and a half. And hopefully we can have some value that we can bring to you as that goes along. So anyone got any questions or anybody got any ideas for things coming up? Just email me or at kane.jmark@gmail.com or go to our Facebook page and put anything like that on there. Other than that, we're pretty much done. Feel free to talk with each other and get to know each other a little bit better. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.